We are now deep into the 21 days of mourning between the 17th of Tammuz and Tisha Beav, the Bein Hametzarim, the days of mourning over the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. So I saw a very powerful idea in last week's Ma'amar from the Shvilei Pinchas regarding these 21 days based on a teaching of Hillel, the great Hillel. In Pirkei Avot, it's actually first brought down in Perek Aleph, Mishnah Yud Gimel. It's then re-quoted in Perek Daled, Mishnah Hey. Says the Pirkei Avot over there in Perek Daled, the Kach Haya Hillel Omer, and this is what Hillel used to say, Ud'ishtamesh betaga halaf. Somebody who uses the crown, halaf, on a literal translation means he's going to die. He's going to perish. If somebody misuses the crown, and what is the crown? So many learn the crown of Torah. If somebody abuses Torah, misuses the crown of Torah, halamata kol nehene midivrei Torah notel chayav min haolam. Whoever derives some kind of a nehene, they translate over here as a worldly benefit from the words of Torah, he's basically removing his life from this world. If you don't use the Torah properly, it's not going to work. It says the Bartanura back in Perek Aleph on this. He says habishtamesh b'kitra shel Torah. If somebody would use the crowns of Torah the way somebody uses like his tools, like it's a simple thing that doesn't treat the Torah with the respect it's supposed to have, halaf ve'avar min ha'olam, then he's going to pass, he's going to leave this world. He says taga b'lishon Ishmael keter. He says taga in I guess Arabic means keter, means a crown. V'yesh mefarshim, and others learn Taga, they learn it as a Rashi Tevot. Rashi Tevot, Talmid Gavra Acharina, which they learn to be the student of another man. That a person can't use other people's Talmidim. Okay, different teaching. Vani Shamati, but then says the Bartanura one last like a little bit more mystical. Udishtamesh betaga, if somebody uses the crown, hamishtamesh b'shem meforash, if he uses one of the holy names of God or the main holy name of God, chalaf ve'avad she'en lo chelek u'maba, that person has no place in the world to come. You can't misuse the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay. The Midrash Shmuel says similarly, he brings down v'yesh mi sheperesh zeh mishtamesh b'shemot HaKadosh o b'tagei Torah lefi shekol tag v'tag yesh lo sod ne'elam. Or if someone is messing with the tagin, with the crowns or the letters or the names of God, using it in an improper kind of way. Okay, so that's the simple interpretation. If you misuse Torah, you abuse the crown of Torah, then halaf, then the person is going to die. But the Shvilei Pinchas quotes a novel idea from the Magid HaKadosh Koznitz. So this is Hasidic Rebbe Koznitz. He writes as follows. He says, Taga, like we said, means crowns. He says that on the 21 days that we have right now between Yud Zayin Tammuz and Tisha Be'av, these 21 days of mourning, he says, Dafka now, we are in the darkness, we have to focus on the crowns on top of the letters. So he learns a Taga as the tagim on the otiyot, the crowns on the letters. But he says, Dafka right now, we got to focus on the limudim of these crowns, which we've spoken in the past many times for Rabbi Akiva, is the deepest sodot, the secrets, is the ways of tying together the written and the oral Torah. He says, because if we look at a Sefer Torah, well, how did the 21 days correspond to what he says? If you look at a Sefer Torah, there are 7 letters that have 3 crowns on them. There's a crown on the right, a crown on the left, a crown going in the middle, these little zayins on top. 7 letters. On the letters, Shatnez Getz. Those letters, Shatnez Getz, it's 7 letters with 3 crowns on each letter, a total of 21 letters. So we have 21 crowns. So we have 21 crowns on these main 7 letters of the Torah. And he goes on over there in his piece to give a lot of different gematrias and different ideas between 7 and 10 and beyond the scope of this Dvar Torah. But he says if we use these crowns properly, then he learns the word halaf in a positive way. We'll be able to halaf, to flip over. We'll be able to flip over these days of mourning into days of simcha. So if we could be able to tap into properly the tagin, the 21 crowns on these 7 holy letters, then we're going to be able to halaf, change over these 21 days from darkness into light. Okay, but we have to find, though, this light in the darkness. We have to focus and get there. Now remember, we spoke in the past about the crowns of the letters, or the secrets of Rabbi Akiva. It's what Rabbi Akiva was able to doresh that Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't fully understand when he first began to sit in the shiur of Rabbi Akiva in the future. And we said that Rabbi Akiva, he's the special koach that in the darkness, he could find that light. You know, when he sees Yerushalayim destroyed, he sees the Churban, he's able to laugh because he's able to see the seeds of the Mashiach even in the darkness. Rabbi Akiva goes through all the greatest suffering and he's going to die with the biggest Yisurin. But then as he's dying, he gets to that Davar Echad, says Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, to give up his life, even his kol, his neshama, his nefesh, all to give that over. Kol nafshecha to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the greatness of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is able to see the light in the darkness. He's able to crown those letters. The Shvili Pinchas further quotes the Sefer Ohev Yisrael. He says that these crowns on the letters that Rabbi Akiva's Doresh is known as the crowns of the Baalei Teshuvah. As we know, Rabbi Akiva was the greatest of the Baalei Teshuvah, and when the Gemara teaches us in Berachot Laftav Lamed Daled, it says, "B'makom sheBaalei Teshuvah omdim, tzadikim gemurim einam yochlim la'amod sham." Where the place where Baal Teshuvah can stand, a tzaddik gamur, he can't make it up to that level. We said in the past that one of the reasons why Moshe Rabbeinu can't get to that Shar Nun in his lifetime is because he's lacking in that level of Teshuvah, because he was such a tzaddik that it's only about Teshuvah that can get so high. In his Teshuvah, he's choter tach kisei hakavod. He's able to climb all the way up to that spot where that crown is on top, and that over there, when he makes it to that top, says the Shvili Pinchas, there's no negative energy, there's no kochot against it anymore. He's able to make it up to that Shar Nun. So La'aniyut Dati, I was thinking, we've spoken many times in the past about the Karnei Hod, the rays of splendor, the glow that emanates from Moshe Rabbeinu's face. When he came down with the second Luchot, the kind of like these rays of light coming out of his head, when he came down with the second Luchot after he went up and prayed for the Shuvah for the Jewish people. Now in the past, we spoke about the Gemara that said, where did this light come from? Where did this glow come from? So originally the Jewish people, they had received two Ktarim. They had received two crowns, one for Naaseh, one for Nishma, the double nuns over there, the two crowns on the heads of each of the Jewish people. But after the Chet HaEgel, they lost their jewelry, they lost Ediyam, they lost their crowns. And Moshe Rabbeinu, when he goes up now, he receives their crowns. And from the crowns of all the Jewish people, they're Naaseh and Nishma, Moshe Rabbeinu gets that special glow. Now, we also spoke in the past at length about the different opinions in the Midrashim of the other opinions of where that glow came from. So one opinion said it came from the Nitzotzot, the little spittle, so to speak, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was teaching the Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Midrash speaks about the spittle that came down, that flickered onto Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's where the glow came from. Or according to another opinion that I want to focus on a little bit more, there was a little bit of extra ink, a tiny bit of ink was left in the quill, in the kulmus, and he rubbed that ink on his rosho, on his forehead, on the top of his head. That extra ink on his head, known as the kim'ah, that little bit of ink from the kulmus, along with the keter imagery that we're speaking about, and even the nitzotzot imagery that we're speaking about, the little sparks from Hashem. So maybe we could say, ulai lanutati, maybe we can say that Moshe Rabbeinu, the pillar of the Torah Shebe'bichtav, he maybe is like an ot. Moshe Rabbeinu himself is like a letter, or if we want to get a little bit bigger, as we learn the Abir Yaakov, maybe he corresponds to all 600,000 letters in the Torah, as he corresponds to all 600,000 Jewish neshamot, as every Dvar Torah is going to go through Moshe Rabbeinu, so he corresponds to all the letters of the Torah Shebe'bichtav. And thus, what's the extra ink on this quill that he's rubbing on his head? What's this kima of the dio? Those are the tagin of the letters, meaning he's putting the tagin on himself. He's crowning himself with the tagin of Rabbi Akiva, that Hashem is holding back the Torah to crown the letters for Rabbi Akiva to be Doresh Til Tilim of Halachot of Sodot. Moshe Rabbeinu right now is symbolically crowning himself. We know that when Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to get that Torah, and I've argued many times in the past, you can see my previous debate Torah by Shavuot time, and that Lanut Dati, that when the Gemaras are talking about him going up, it's not talking about the first time to get the first Luchot, but I think Lanut Dati, he's going up to get the second Luchot, and it's after the Chet of the Egel, and that's when he saw Hashem crowning the letters of Rabbi Akiva. Now, after the Egel, post sin, when we need Teshuvah, now we're going to look at the greatest Baal Teshuvah, Rabbi Akiva, see the levels that he could reach, and at this moment, Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't fully understand the secrets. He doesn't get the Sodot, those Til Tilim, in those little flicks of the quill, that Kima of the Dio, Ot, Yud, he doesn't fully get it. But maybe now he's beginning to learn the Torah of those crowns. Meaning this Gemara, we can say that the end of the Gemara he doesn't know it, or maybe this Gemara is the beginning of Moshe Rabbeinu beginning to understand a bit of the Sharnun, as we said once in the past, that the small aleph in Vayikra, some learn is the aleph. Aleph also is the same letters as Elef. That Moshe Rabbeinu was learning 1/1000th, the aleph of the Elef. He's learning 1/1000th of that level of Rabbi Akiva. He's beginning to crown himself with those those tagin on the letters, and maybe that's the extra ink in the quill, meaning Moshe Rabbeinu had been writing the Torah up until this point, but just the otiyot, and now he sees HaKadosh Baruch Hu crowning the letters. What's this? What's he seeing? It's at this point, it's the point right before Moshe Rabbeinu is going to crown the letters. Now he's beginning to understand what is behind these crowns, and it's at this moment exactly when our Gemara is taking place, and the Midrash is saying, and now he's going to smear some of that on his head, meaning symbolically, he's going to get some of the ink of those tagin. Right now is the Torah of the tagin, and that's being put on Moshe Rabbeinu's head, because Moshe Rabbeinu himself is crowning himself with the tagin as Hashem wants him to be doing. Or as I saw similarly in Sefer Divrei Sharei Chaim from Harav Chaim Sofer, from the Chatam Sofer family, Moshe didn't just learn the main letters of the Torah. He could have just gotten the simple Torah Shebichtav, the simple letters, but he glimpsed at the Nitzotzot as well, he writes. He wanted a little bit more. He wanted to get a little bit closer. He wanted to look at the Sodot of the Tagin. He was trying to get a bit deeper, and he wasn't satisfied from learning with Hashem just the basic level. The Beit HaLevi we've spoken about in the past on Shavuot, when he's speaking about the special level of the Luchot Shniyot, of the second Luchot, the miraculous first Luchot get changed over to the Luchot Shniyot, which now comes along with them with the Torah Sheba'al Peh. So he writes that the extra ink in the quill corresponds to the Torah Sheba'al Peh, meaning Hashem was saying, don't write everything down. Keep some of it in your head. The ink on his forehead, which is the koach of the Torah Sheba'al Peh, which that's what led to Moshe Rabbeinu's glow, because in a certain sense, Moshe Rabbeinu now is like a walking Torah Sheba'al Peh as well. Moshe Rabbeinu was glowing from the koach of the Torah Sheba'al Peh, according to the Beit HaLevi. And if that's true, the ink never came out. So I saw similarly in Sefer Shemen LaMa'or, he writes, that's not the ink of the tagin, that's the ink that never came out, meaning that's the ink that's corresponding to the Torah Sheba'al Peh in the Beit HaLevi. This is an even higher level than the tagin themselves. And he says it corresponds, there might even correspond a little bit more to the white fire, to the parchment, the part that's not ink, which itself could be hints to even greater levels of sodot. Now we've said many times the Torah Sheba'al Peh is the Bechina of Rabbi Akiva, that is the koach. So now it all fits perfectly, because we have ourselves the crowns, which is the Rabbi Akiva, who's the Baal Teshuvah. Now Moshe Rabbeinu was beginning to touch and learn a little bit of the Torah of Rabbi Akiva. But in order to get up to this high level, to get up to this level of what we call the Sha'ar Nun, to get up to this level of wisdom, we need to have a little bit of teshuvah. And Moshe, who's the tzaddik, didn't sin over here. But maybe we can say that in this whole story of the Egel, this really is second Luchot, and this is post-Egel. So Moshe is doing teshuvah now for all of Am Yisrael. And by tapping into the true teshuvah for everybody else, so maybe Moshe Rabbeinu himself didn't sin. But if he's a shaliach for all of Bnei Yisrael, maybe he can be zochet to those little nitzotzot to get a little bit of the koch of the Sha'ar Nun through teshuvah by doing teshuvah for everybody else. I mentioned this to Rabbi Khan, and he told me, it makes a lot of sense, because Moshe Rabbeinu came down with the second Luchot on Yom Kippur, the day of teshuvah, and that's the day that he's glowing, and that's similar to the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, the Mareh Kohen, the great glow of the Kohen Gadol after he comes lifnim v'lifnim, he goes close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Kohen Gadol is that great shaliach who's doing teshuvah for the Jewish people, and then he walks out, there's this glow. That's the glow of teshuvah that's on Moshe Rabbeinu right now, which is the glow of Rabbi Akiva, which is the glow of these crowns. Okay, back to our Shvilei Pinchas. Says the Shvilei Pinchas, we have ourselves our 21 crowns corresponding to the 21 days of Bein Hametzarim, but it also appears that the 21 days of Teshuvah, we have another 21 days on the Jewish calendar, and that's going to start on Rosh Hashanah from Rosh Hashanah until Hoshana Rabbah. Those 21 days of Teshuvah, so we have 21 days of darkness, of mourning right now, and we also have 21 days of the Yemei Teshuvah. So says the Shvilei Pinchas, if we could serve Hashem in these 21 days right now of darkness, if we can serve Hashem in the Hester Panim when we don't see Hashem, if we could crown Hashem with these 21 crowns, so we're setting up the stage of the 21 days of Teshuvah. We're setting ourselves to reach those heights of heights, to reach the heights through the koach of Teshuvah. This reminds me a little bit of what we said in the past from the Shlach Kadosh and other sources as well, that 21 is also gematria of Ekiyeh, the name of Hashem, the Aleph Hey, the Yud Hey, which is the future. We're corresponding to the future day, trying to get to that future. The Ekiyeh, this name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we said corresponds to the 50th gate, to the Sha'ar Nun itself, because we said to get from the 49 to the 50, we go through the name Ekeh, which is Gematria 21. 49 plus 21 is Gematria 70. It's the Yain. It's the Shivim Panim LaTorah. It's the greatness of the full Torah Sheba'al Peh. It's the Rebbe Akiva. It's the Baal Tshuva to get to this level, which also corresponds to the suffering, as we saw in the whole story. Moshe Rabbeinu learns that by the burning bush, seeing the suffering. That's the symbol of the burning bush. That Hashem's telling them, you're gonna have one galut and another galut. You're gonna have days of darkness. You're gonna have days of difficulty. But in all of that, the suffering, the teshuvah, the 21, the ekiyeh, that's the ticket to get to the 50th gate. Back to the Shvilei Pinchas, says the Shvilei Pinchas, the double system of 21 could also help us understand the statement that HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes to Moshe Rabbeinu. So he says that Lefi Amur yesh losif ke'yeh begematria kaf aleph ekiyeh. The name of Hashem is 21. Leramesh tzarich litorer b'tshuva. We have to wake up a tshuva al yedei kaf aleph yamim hanal through these 21 days. Ulam machar sheyesh shtei marachot shel kaf aleph yamim. Since we have two different systems of 21 days, lachen hikdim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayomer Elohim al Moshe eheyeh asher eheyeh. I will be Ekiyeh as I will be Ekiyeh. He's mentioning both to him. Hiskir pa'amayim shem Ekiyeh, l'ramez al shtei marachot. He says Ekiyeh twice because we have two 21s. We have a 21 days of the pain, of the suffering of the morning, but we also have 21 days to wake ourselves up to tshuva. Bezrat Hashem, let's be zocher right now. If we can be zocher in these 21 days right now, to find Hashem in that darkness, then Bezrat Hashem we can really be zocher to the malchut, to crown Hashem in that malchut in the 21 days of in the month of Tishrei, and that should be Bezrat Hashem give us the koch to have the full light of Mashiach Tzidkenu. Shabbat Shalom.